Hey guys! I thought today that I would talk about how I build a routine and use my bullet journal slash planner slash whatever you would call that to kind of organise life and my days and stuff like that, because as you may or may not know, having watched the rest of my videos, is that I basically rely on some kind of planner or notebook. At the moment it's this kind of gigantic one to keep track of I was going to say basically everything, but then that felt like an exaggeration, but no, it is actually basically everything. I use it to keep track of housework, trying to think if there's literally anything else going on at the moment. Oh, in regular times, appointments, going places, basically anything that is a task, whether that's a fun thing or a necessity thing. I use a planner to do it. So I thought that I'd kind of try to record a bit how I build a routine. Although I technically do it in my head, I thought I would show you what it would look like on paper, and then how I kind of what's the word for connect or build in, but mash the two together basically. So, wordy introduction out of the way. First of all, let me just check that I'm actually in frame. Yes, I am. So the first thing that I would do, and I kind of, even though I do this in my head without writing it down, I know what it would look like on paper, because for example, when I've had days when I'm off my typical routine, but I still need to be very on top of what I'm doing. So for example, traveling, when we used to go on holiday, I would need to know when I need to get up, the order of tasks that I need to do before we leave the house, travel times to the airport, etc, etc. And needed to have a way to block that out on paper, because even though when I've learnt a routine it's all in my brain, I struggle to do the initial processing in a non-physical way. I need to have it written down in front of me and to be able to work through it on paper visually, to be able to problem solve it, I guess. So yeah, I thought that might be kind of useful, because even though it's super late in the pandemic times, being as it's basically a year since we've been impacted by it, let's say, routine is constantly changing for lots of people and is something that people are struggling with quite a lot. And I thought, I've been meaning to do this for a really long time, but I too have been really struggling with things. And this is the first time that I've had the, all of the stars aligning to make it actually possible for me to record. So hopefully this is some kind of useful resource for people that are trying to rebuild routines, or maybe get into one from scratch if you're not somebody that's found a organisation method that works yet. So basically, this is super basic and simple, I think, in as much as I don't think I'm presenting anything new and radical. I guess it's probably just a timeline. So I guess what I would start with is the time that I wake up, because I'm talking here about mapping a literal entire day. So I think I'd probably start with my routine, and I haven't planned this in advance. Half an hour ago I wasn't intending to film, but then I happened to find my tripod that I've been meaning to find for ages and do a camera test. And I thought, being as it's all set up here anyway, I might as well do it. So if this goes wrong, it's because I'm making it up as I go. So first things first, I wake up. I use an alarm every day, and I wake up at the same time, regardless of whether it's the weekend or a weekday. That's just what works best for me, is having a consistent going to bed time and a consistent waking up time. So we're going to go for 8 a.m. as the first thing. I'm just thinking about, yeah, no, I'll carry on left-handed. Sorry if it's messy, I'm right-handed, but if I'm going to be using my hands a lot, I have to switch up to make sure that I can like manage chronic pain stuff. So sorry if it's messy. We're going for 8 AM, wake up. Let me see how many squares we have on this page so that I can try and figure out what kind of time gaps we're gonna go with. Okay, how are we looking now? So I've got all the times of the day on the left-hand side. So we've got 8 AM through to 8 PM and then like a tiny squash space for 10 PM because I guess the point of this is to only, like there's no point writing out times that you don't use in the day. So I wake up at 8 and go to bed at 10. That's the only thing that I need to write down. So the next thing I would do to build a routine is to block in the like foundations, I guess, the scaffolding, the like immovable objects from the day that need to, like, you need to build the rest around. So like I said, wake up time and going to bed time is, I'm just trying to make sure that I'm actually like doing some kind of uniform, presentable layout here. Those are like the bookends of the day. So let's put that in. Like I said, I'm trying to think as I go, so let's try to get some coherence going on here. So we've done waking up and going to bed. The logical way to do this would be to write a list of the things that you need to do in a day. For me, this is kind of like a, what's the word for like something that you can build on? I don't know, basically like something that you can add to. So this is like the baseline version, and then as you have things to fill in, there are like blank sections or like switchable sections that you can use to adjust. So also a relevant thing for me that may not be relevant for many people is I don't currently work because of disability. So my days on one hand look very the same because I don't have like distinct weekends and weekday activities. But on other hands, also need to be very flexible based on my symptoms or like brain abilities for each day. So this is kind of like a, like the core things that I can then adapt based on daily changeability. So for you, you might want to make one for, like you'd have two versions of this routine. One that is your weekdays, for example, like work or studying, and then one that is like weekend days, that is for like leisure. So let's go for meal times next. I tend to eat at around 12 for lunch. So I'll pencil that in. And then dinner at 6. I also eat a snack at 3 PM. Also, I've just suddenly realised that this is probably not going to be a very relatable daily routine because I'm very like beholden to chronic illness issues at the moment. So my entire day is basically like hour to hour managing symptoms and based on really boring stuff like having to eat really regularly and do physical therapy multiple times a day and stuff like that. So maybe this is just completely useless and not helpful at all, but hopefully at least if none of the things I'm filling in are useful, at the very least like the concept of writing it out like this is helpful. Coincidentally, I meant to mention earlier, it turns out that there are 3 squares in between. So like 8 AM, this could stand for 8:15, 8:30, 8:45, 9. So each square here represents 15 minutes. Can you even see the squares on camera? This is a dotted sheet of paper if you can't see that. So that might be something to bear in mind when you're drawing this out. Sorry I didn't mention it earlier, but hopefully if you are using this, you'll watch the whole thing before you draw your own. So, where do we get to? Meal times. So, other concrete stuff is other parts of your routine that you need to remind yourself to do. So, for each of these things, if you want to like properly go into it and have something that you can fully refer to, you could make up like a list or like a sequence of tasks here that like expands on each like brief point here. So here, for example, 8 a.m. wake up would be my like waking up routine would be so my alarm goes off and then I have to lay in bed for like 15 minutes and take my first lot of medication, and then I need, wait, sorry, I can't talk and write at the same time. Take medication, and then I need 5 minutes between taking that and getting up. And then I haven't represented this well at all. It's fine. I hope you know what I'm going for. Once I've had that 5 minutes of like grace period, then I can like literally get out of bed. So then, being as that whole thing's taken us like 15 minutes, we're now at 8:15. So let's go for like 8:15 to 8:30 is like washing and dressing. And then again, like if you need to expand on that, you can list all of the steps. So for example, first step is get up and wash your face, then brush your teeth, then get dressed, etc. Like depending how many steps you have, like put on makeup if you do that, stuff like that. Then we've got 8:30. For me, that would be start breakfast and boil the kettle. I was going to write it in like shorthand that I have for lots of tasks because I shorten a lot of things to make it less for me to write, but I am going to make this comprehensible instead. So start breakfast, etc. And then from, let's say, I mean, this doesn't have to be actual real life, but I'm just not very imaginative in thinking of like a theoretical option this could be for someone, so I'm going to make this kind of real life. Like this time, wow, that was supposed to be one of those like weird arrowy things, but it went really wrong. There's like some time here for like internet stuff, so I'm like, in this time I'm waiting for my breakfast to be doing its thing. I'm like waking up, I'm catching up on like, I don't know, unnecessary but like distracting things for the day. Basically this whole like waking up period, so between 8 and 10, the concept behind it is waking up gently and filling it with things that are like positive or interesting or like motivating thoughts for the day. So in this period of time, I don't want to be thinking about anything that's just going to make me want to go back to bed immediately. So in here is like while I'm waiting for my meds and stuff like that, I will play Animal Crossing for a bit and maybe go on Instagram for a bit, like anything that means that I'm like actively curating enjoyable thoughts in my head, I guess. So once I've got like breakfast ready, then I will like eat breakfast sometime in here. Then I have to sit for a bit, and then once I've left enough time, at 10 p.m. at 10 a.m. the day actually starts in like real life. So this is when I start doing my physical therapy, and that's like the first like serious task I have for the day. Like the first thing that's like an active like, right, okay, I'm like doing this now, this is the day. Physical therapy. So I do like my stretching routine and stuff like that. So again, like, even though this has probably got a bit silly now, we're still blocking in stuff that's like the base of your routine. So this isn't like, today I'm going to do gardening. This is like, every day I have to wake up and get to physical therapy before, like, that's my foundation for like any day. So that gives me, you might be able to see here, 2 hours between physical therapy and lunch. During this time, like, I will need to cook my lunch. I have my main meals in the day because of like health stuff, rather than eating my main meal at dinner time. So that means that an inconvenient amount of time in the morning has to be dedicated to meal preparation or like just assembling stuff that I've prepared in advance. So I'd block that in. Normally about 11:15, I would start my lunch prep. So that is put in here. So in terms of like actual tangible time I have stuff to do with, I've got like an hour and a quarter of time here. That kind of thing is probably useful to note down because it gives you more of an idea of how much like actual usable time you have. And this kind of drawing out of routine takes me a lot of trial and error. Like, I'm constantly having to adjust this based on my health stuff and my like daily abilities. So this isn't like a one shot, I drew this and then magically that was what worked for my routine forever. This is like a constant work in progress. Needed to draw it out several times before I like could piece in the things like waking up and bedtime. Like, even that part of it is a trial and error to work out what works best for me. And I hope this doesn't feel too exhausting, like thinking about all the things to think about. Like, this is a very accurate representation of the specificity that I need to plan my day with in order to manage my health and brain conditions / abilities. So the idea of this is once it's drawn up once, then the stress is taken off of me and I don't have to do all this like sequential decision making every day. So even though, like, to start with, it seems like the worst task I could imagine to do because it takes a lot of decision making and sequencing and like executive functioning tasks that are typically quite difficult and energy draining for a lot of people. Once it's done, it should make life easier. Okay, so lunch is at 12. Let's move on to the next bit. Again, another thing that I feel like is probably not going to be very relatable is that for the next 2 hours, I'm pretty much fried, can't think straight, would go to sleep if that was a feasible thing to do. I don't have like cognitive thinking abilities at this point. I'm like wiped out from the day. The joys of chronic illness and being autistic and a pandemic and etc. So this period is my eating, reading, watching K-dramas, and generally trying to like regain some clarity, clear the fog that's in my brain so that I can do some more things for the rest of the day. So I guess I don't really need to write that down, but let's say between 12 and 1 I'm eating and reading, and then at 1 I'll go and like do more internet stuff. Yeah, so we've got this section which is like watching stuff online, maybe like scrolling through Tumblr for a bit, catching up on YouTube, things that basically don't require me to use speech, whether that's written or like verbal, or don't require me to like do a lot of thinking in terms of things like decision making or stuff like that. Like, this is like a like not using your brain time, so that I can hopefully regain some brain power and carry on with the day slightly fresh. So then at 2 p.m. the day starts again. That gives me another hour before I have to eat again. Yay! Another thing to write down, like this is another patch of like free time. So I'll do something in there. Then for like, let's say 15 minutes, I have time to eat, and then again like I have to sit after I eat for a while. So that gives me another 45 minutes because at 4 p.m. it's time for physical therapy again. This is like the proper one. in the morning it's just like my stretch routine. In the afternoon it's like the actual graded exercise plan that I do for chronic pain and stuff. So we've got another 45 minutes here. Oh, that does not look like a 5. Okay, let's go with that. So then for me at 4:30 I have to make a snack. And then I have to sit for about 45 minutes before I can like start walking around again to regain my like leg power. So that gives us about 5:15. So that gives us another, depending how long dinner's going to take to prepare, that gives me like 15 minutes to half an hour of free time here. Something that I have recently started enjoying, which is really nice, which probably doesn't need to be commented on, but here we go, is between, like after physical therapy and before making dinner, in this like half an hour, 15-minute blah 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 gap here, let's go for 30 minutes, is taking some time to actually like sit and talk with my friends online. So like my normal communication style with friends is that I find it quite difficult to be talking like in real time, in terms of like processing, figuring out what the other person's saying, figuring out what I want to reply, stuff like that. With most of my friends it tends to be a more like, we'll leave a message for the other person to get to when they get to it sort of thing. So it might only be like half an hour delay or something like that, but we tend to give each other like some grace for processing time. A lot of my, well, I think all of my online friends are autistic or otherwise like neurodivergent, so it's really nice to have friends where we can talk about like differences in processing and socialising and stuff like that. So we tend to all be quite upfront with each other, like what ways of communication work well for us. So the point of me saying about that was that this period is quite nice because I tend to be quite tired and I will just be sitting down at my laptop and have Discord open, which is how I tend to talk to most friends. And I'll be playing a game, probably Animal Crossing. I say as if I have any other game, it's Animal Crossing. I'll be playing Animal Crossing with my laptop open so that while we're like waiting for each other to reply, if people are around, then I'll be playing and I can easily put it down for a second to type back, and it's more of a like, more similar to real-time conversation, and it's quite nice to have that more instant kind of chatting style, even though like for baseline like abilities of talking are more like not forgiving, but you know, like allowing for processing time. Way of speaking works better for most of us. Is also like nice in a different way to have a more kind of instant chat. So then we move on to dinner prep. Again, like just this section basically depends on how much motivation I have left for the day. If I'm like doing well, then this rest period will be short. But if I am procrastinating on making dinner, which I tend to be, I will push the limits and make dinner accidentally late because I don't want to get to that point of the day. So this is the kind of thing that having a set routine really helps me with, because it means that I am having to use less like decision making and like I guess less willpower, but willpower is the wrong word. But like the more decisions I've made in advance, the more I have free to just be focusing on initiating tasks rather than making the decisions and having to initiate them and work out all the context for them and like weighing up the whole day and stuff like that. So when it gets to the tasks I'm more reluctant to do, like towards the ends of the day because I'm tired and just have generally like run out of will to do the day, it's handy to have stuff like this decided in advance so that I can like kick myself into making dinner at a sensible time and doing things that are like the best for my health, regardless of what I actually feel like doing, which is probably like staying in this nice void of time forever. So we've got dinner, then I have to sit for a while before I can like move again. So 7 p.m. is like this is occupational therapy, where I have to sit at the table and do some other exercises. And then at 7:15 we're moving into tidying up. And that has just made me realise that I haven't scheduled in my like tidying up after breakfast and lunch and stuff like that in. Like I said, like this expansion section, I guess, is where I would write down like the actual steps for each thing if I need that. But like I said, where I do this thing pretty much every day, the only thing that changes are like these little gaps here. I have learnt these steps because they don't change. So the detail depends on what you need, basically, is what I was trying to say there. So then we get into, let's say 7:45. Oh no, 7:30, then we do more physical therapy. Some more stretches just to round off the day. And then at 8 p.m. it's time to take a shower and get ready for bed. I really like to be, need to be ready to go to bed way before actual bedtime, because otherwise I end up procrastinating going to bed because the, motivation for doing all those, getting ready tasks is just not there. The later it gets, the less I feel like I want to be getting ready for bed and turning all the lights off and switching to candles or lamps and winding down, because I guess by that point I'm just so tired that I'm just done and I want to just click my fingers and be in bed asleep. So if I give myself a couple of hours to where I'm literally could go to bed at any second, then it makes it easier for me to actually stick to a bedtime at 10 p.m. Otherwise I'll end up sleep procrastinating, where I am really tired but I'm struggling to switch between the states of being awake and doing activities to being completely relatively mentally calm and in a state to sleep. Sleep procrastination is a thing that I don't know enough about to make a proper video on, but is probably a useful thing for people to know about or read about a bit if you don't already know about it, and making it easier for yourself to go to sleep by trying to figure out what some of the difficulties are about that time of day and about winding down for bed. So that's just a tip, I guess, without going into it properly. And as it happens, except I didn't finish writing down what I was saying, ready for bed. That's pretty much a kind of typical outline for a day written out. So hopefully that kind of thing has been helpful in thinking about what you need to do for building routines. So for example, if you have lessons or work or other non-negotiable parts of the day, then that is what I would start with blocking in, and then you can see what pockets of time you have in between those things for leisure activities or other stuff in the day. So now how am I going to tie this in together? So part 2, wait, let me just see what my framing is going to be like. Okay, sorry I can't fit literally everything in at the same time, but I can't. So how are we going to integrate these things? So this is what my week looks like. I don't think there's... Everything in is probably fine to show, it's fine. So this is what it looks like filled in, but I am going to show you what it's like as I'm drawing it out, in the hope that that will make it more adaptable for what you are doing. If you are looking for a planner kind of set up here. So as a quick explanation, I think I actually already have made a video showing what it looks like when I'm doing this, but I don't remember how much I actually talked about what I was doing. So hopefully the Venn diagram overlap of like this video and that video are like more like this and not like basically the same. But either way, we're gonna move on to planner kind of exposition here. So the main kind of setup we've got is the days of the week go along the bottom here. This is divided roughly in half, horizontally. Yes, let's go with that. So that we have enough space for each day of the week along here and a section for notes on the side, basically because I didn't want to work out the maths for dividing this equally into 7. Then in the top left corner we have the recurring housework tasks that don't have a set day of the week to be done but need doing at least once a week. And then on the right hand side we have like other to-dos, which are more like hobbies or like enjoyable things or like personal projects that aren't housework but need doing. So the point of this is, like I said, that these tasks need doing at least once a week. Some of them need doing once a day. So to read through in case you can't see, we've got whitewashing, colour washing, dark washing, towel washing. So these are like all 4 types of like wash cycles that I need to do for laundry. Then hoovering, again self-explanatory, it's just hoovering my house, cleaning the bathroom, cleaning my kitchen sink, and doing the dishwasher and washing up. I do this like multiple times a day anyway, but it's one of those tasks that's easy to, for me, it's easy to forget that I have done it and then feel like I've done nothing all day, when actually this is a significant thing to be doing in your house. So I like to note it down, even though it's always filled in daily. And these things, the proportion of this section to this section is that I wanted to have basically the minimum of tasks here, but also not exclude anything that I need to remember to do. These are like the bulk of my looking after my house things that I would ever need to think about, other than the like less regular stuff that just comes to mind when I think of it. So things like cleaning my window frames or dusting or stuff like that. Tasks like that are things that I will do when I see they need doing. So for some people you might need like a monthly or a yearly spread showing the frequency with which you want to do those tasks. But for me, I just tend to kind of play it by ear. That's just kind of how my brain works. But I know that for a lot of people it's really hard to remember to do stuff like that. And so having it kind of written out somewhere in a planner would be handy so that you remember to do stuff like that. So again, this kind of setup is another trial and error thing that I edit based on need. And I actually thought about this in advance before drawing out the spread, so that I was going into it kind of like set up basically. But this is the kind of thing that you can play by ear, like week by week. If there's something on here, like for example dishwasher and washing up, that you don't need a reminder to do and that you don't feel like it's useful to note that you are doing to give yourself credit for, then like there's no need to include it. The most useful part for me is the washing section, because that tells me when I last did a load of washing, which tells me when I can next do one because of the amount of time it needs to take to air dry in between, which is like, I guess for some people this is really boring, but whatever, like this is neurodivergent taking care of your house stuff that I need. So you can see from week to week the days of the week are at the top, which inform me what day I do the task on, and then the task is down the side. So by following the days here, I know that this week I did a dark wash on Tuesday, and last week, coincidentally, I also did one on Tuesday. But for colour washing, this week I haven't done a colour wash, but last week I did one on Friday. So I can see from one week to the next. The last time I did washing was Friday. So that gives me Saturday, Sunday, switching over to this week, Monday for drying time, and then the next load went on Tuesday. So it's stuff like that that I find having a weekly like changeability really handy, because it gives me the context of like, there's no way I'm going to remember when this happened. So having it all recorded here, I can keep track of the housework stuff and keep my house running in like a level of cleanliness and organisation that I'm comfortable with. This kind of thing will depend, like I said, on you. So you might not feel like you need to hoover once a week, or you might feel like you need to hoover multiple times a week. For me, once is the balance between I would like to do it more, but I don't have the energy to do it more. So this keeps it clean enough that I'm happy, but isn't so regular that my like very small chunks of like free time aren't spent on cleaning like the whole time. So what are we going to move on to next? I guess the to-do section is very much the same as the housework section, but for fun things instead of necessary things. So here, sometimes I don't even, like, I'll just have one task there. Sometimes it's more like things that I actually need to do, like cutting my hair. Sometimes it's just like frivolous things, like last week I made a little zine. And then this week I am keeping on top of planner stuff that I want to do. So it's the end of March, no, it's the end of February this week. So I want to collect all the photos I took in February, and I need to do my monthly March setup, which I did on Monday. So that is ready for the new month. So stuff like that is handy to keep track of here. Again, in the context of the week, I tend to, like at the start of the week, the boxes are all blank. I just have the tasks along here. And then as the week goes and I'm kind of, like I'm getting more of an idea of what these sections are being used for, I can then fill in what day of the week they're applicable for. And that, I have just found the link. Sorry if that rustling is too loud. The link between this routine page and this weekly spread page is that these gaps, so they're an hour and a quarter here, 45 minutes here and half an hour here, are the time that I have to do my daily tasks here. So each day I have a list of things that I want to get done that day, and they fill up as the week goes on. So every Thursday I draw out my planner spread for the next week, otherwise this is just a blank notebook. And as I go through the week, so starting on Thursday, even though my week logically starts on a Monday, I fill in the things that I need to do. So you can see today, for example, is a Thursday. And the, whoops, I just dropped my pen lid. The tasks, like, in front of me, like in time, are pretty blank, and the days are pretty blank, because at the moment I'm pretty much planning like a couple of days in advance, not like super scheduled out because of variable health stuff. I can't really see in the future that far in terms of predicting my like physical abilities. So as the week goes on, these very like empty and brief days will fill out more like this as I draw in tasks and then shade in the boxes to show that they're done. So yesterday, for example, it was one of those days of like just doing a bunch of tiny things that don't take a lot of time, but there's a lot of them, so it takes a lot of like brain space to plan and organise. So as I kind of go, I will start off with a like very similar to wait, can you see that? Yeah, you can. Very similar to drawing out this, I start out with the very like bare bones like necessities, and then as I go fill in the like gaps with like more wants. This stuff is the stuff that needs doing, so it needs to be taken into account. If I just filled up the whole day with like stuff that I feel like, then I wouldn't have the energy left to do the stuff that I have to do. Like tomorrow, Fridays are always the day when I write my meal plan, write my shopping list, and do my grocery order online. So I need to have this stuff planned out in advance to see how much brain power and like physical power, if the tasks are physical, like putting away my groceries, because my routine is kind of like cross-training, I guess, where the day is broken up into smaller sections that all focus on one part of the body or mind, so that I'm alternating between like my whole body and brain and not overstraining one particular area. So I have to do things in quite short bursts, like physically, so like writing with both my hands so that I don't overstrain my right hand because of chronic pain, making sure that I don't allocate too many tasks that use brain power on one day so that I can't finish them because I can't think straight. Like everything needs to be balanced and spread out based on the area that it strains. So this kind of flexible / fixed routine works really well for me because it allows me to like visually see the area that I'm putting most strain on at one time and account for that with my leisure tasks, so that I'm trying to balance like all of my abilities. I'm trying to think if I explained that well, or if I can think of an example that would actually like illustrate that well. I guess I could like show you with how I planned my tasks here. So the reasons that I scheduled the things that I did, no, that wasn't even English. So yeah, like I explained to you at the start of the week, this bit is blank. You just have the days of the week and the tasks I want to do. I haven't yet allocated each task to a day. The allocation depends on the pre-allocated tasks that are necessary. So you can see here, I originally planned to write a letter to my friend on Tuesday, but on Monday, I'd done a lot of tasks that hurt or that use my arm, my right arm, which is the arm that I would use to write like legibly or like prettily to a friend. So when it got to Tuesday and I'd originally planned to write to my friend on that day, my arm hurt too much to write. So I had to switch it to Wednesday. But I wanted to balance my March spread, for example, so like some nice planner time. That was something that I was looking forward to and was enjoying. And a lot of the tasks on Monday are like the necessary ones that I need to start my week. So stuff like emptying the bins, making lunch, changing my bed, stuff like that. So I wanted to have a balance there between enjoyable tasks and necessary tasks. So again, I hope that this doesn't make it seem really unusable and unhelpful, because for me, this kind of balance and like layout stops it from being too complex, but I feel like when I'm explaining it, it's making it seem intimidating and overly complex. So am I regretting this entire video? Yes, I am. Am I going to continue anyway? Let's go with yes. So logical other things to talk about here are, I guess this is a nice thing too. These are like my, what's the word? Not really goals, not affirmations, aspirations maybe? Like things that I want to make sure that I do quite a bit of to like boost my mental health, I guess. So to some people, very basic things like talking with my friends and going outdoors, but things that I neglect to do for various reasons, but that tend to make me feel better when I do them. So I try to fill in as much of these, again, like Monday to Sunday sections as I can in a week. And this is also useful because it reflects my mental and physical state pretty well. So I'm not going to do it because that would be exposing myself. But if I flip back through my previous weeks, I can see like when these like bars drop very low, I can see that I'm struggling. And when they are more full, I can see that I'm doing well. So it's handy to have this not only for like in real time use for figuring out what I'm supposed to be doing each day, but also for looking back over and kind of giving myself a like bunch of data recorded to see how I'm doing and if I can figure out some cause and effect between certain things and use that data to adjust my routine better in the future. So now, even though I've been recording for a million years, I'm now going to do the final part, which is showing you how I draw this week out, in the hope that seeing the drawing process will make it easier to figure out how you would do this if you were going to adapt it for your routines. Yeah, so next week is going to be the first week of March. I'm going to quickly draw out a template for this off camera because that's boring, and then I'll show you the drawing in like when it's actually helpful. Okay, so the first thing is dividing my page into a top half and a bottom half. So I'm going to use some nice colours because it's coming to spring. Also, this is not going to be as tidy as it normally is because I'm doing it whilst I'm talking and also left-handedly. So you can make this way more aesthetically pleasing if you have time and the ability. So I draw it out in marker to start with and then write with my pen over it because then it doesn't smudge. And these are Tombow dual brush pens in the colours 761 and 025 that I'm using for this week to match with the washi tape that I picked for this month. Something I really like about these planners, I'll put a picture in right now, is picking a different colour scheme and washi tape for the month because I like how it differentiates between the different months. Like I can just see flipping through it which month is which, and it gives me some variety, so it's more like interesting to think about and more motivated to use it, but not too much difference and variety that it's like stressful and like unhelpful. So I really like the like little washi tape tabs that I make each month, and using the washi tape as well for decorations in the bottom of the page too. So again, this would be really nice if it was a straight line, but we can't all have what we want. I'm jumping around here too because it's quite tricky. I've never done a voiceover and filmed at the same time before. I say immediately remembering that I probably have, but it was probably difficult. That'll do. So I picked pink and yellow because they are the two colours that the washi tape for this month, according to my theme, is. So, drawing out like the very base skeleton of the page. So we now have 8 columns that represent each day of the week plus a section for notes. A thing that I find worth pointing out is that the drawing of the lines, this is a dotted notebook if it's not showing up on camera, and the drawing of the lines that separate the days are between 2 dots, which means that when I draw the boxes for the tasks, I can like join the dots to make a square, rather than if my lines delineating the days were on like the lines, then the boxes would overlap, if that makes any sense. Again, like you can make this neat with a ruler and stuff, or you can draw it freehand depending how you're feeling, but this is just I was going to say it's rough, but this is what it looks like every week, let's be real. What do we do next? Let's have a section for notes on here. Sorry for my messy left-handed cursive. And then we're going to fill in the dates. So we've got the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. Again, this is the kind of thing you can switch up if you start your week on a Sunday versus a Monday. I start it on a Monday, so I'm gonna draw in all of my days of the week. Also, normally while I do this, I listen to podcasts, which is a really nice, I look forward to this part of the day on Thursdays when I just sit down with my headphones on and draw out my week. It makes me feel like I have some kind of semblance of knowledge about the future. It means I know what's going on. It's just a nice time. It's nice and relaxing. So once I've got all of my days drawn out, let's go from left to right. So normally at the moment, this would be a practical section if I had anything happening in my life to note down, but I do not, so I've been using it to record the things I've been enjoying that week, and that is so nice. I really love looking back through and being able to see what I'm listening to and watching or enjoying the previous week. So a couple of weeks ago, I started listening to the audiobook, The 100-Foot Journey. I started listening to the Sweet Boys podcast as recommended on Megan Rhiannon's Patreon, which I've also been loving. And I watched the 3rd installment of the film series To All the Boys I've Loved Before, which was cute. So it's nice to have a little record here of what has been nice that's been going on. I'm trying to pay more attention to noting stuff like that down so that it's more present in my mind, I guess. So then from there I go along very much with the same mindset as I mentioned in drawing out my daily routine of the non-negotiable tasks that need doing each day of the week. That I would go about doing if I was gonna start from scratch. I would get a new sheet of paper and I would write a list of all of the things that probably over a few weeks before I actually solidified a routine. I would make a note of all of the tasks that I do in a week, especially the ones that are recurring. So I do every Monday, every Tuesday, blah, blah, blah. And note down what it is and when I do it so that I can then tie that data all together and simplify it. So for example, if one week on a Monday I change my bed, on a Tuesday the next week I change my bed, and then on the Monday the next week I change my bed, I'd take the average of all of those 3 and say, okay, it's sensible for me to pick Monday as the day in every future week when I do that task, and then I can schedule that in and know that I need to do that in the future. This also, I guess, is more useful if you're somebody that actually benefits from a routine. I know that some people would probably benefit way more just from having the list without any sort of scheduling on what day it needs to be done, but the list would be there so that you remember the task exists. For me, I guess I just like the predictability of doing the same thing each week, and like I said, it also helps me with planning chronic illness wise, because I am more on top of my energy levels in the context of the days previous to and after any given day. So as a precursor to drawing this spread out, if I was properly starting from scratch, I would write a list of all the tasks that I do in a week across several weeks, and then I can tie all of that together and figure out the average day when it would make sense for me to do a task. Another thing to bear in mind with doing that, if it is just a case of you can decide your routine, there isn't anything external tying you to a day, is stuff like spreading out things across the week. You might be somebody that needs to do one physical task each day, or you might be somebody that would rather do all of your physical tasks in one day. So for example, Sunday might be your housework day where you do like all of the cleaning, or like me, you might need to spread that out across your whole week so that you have more time to rest in between, and any one day or period of time isn't going to be too strenuous on you. So being as this list is like in my head, I'm not going to write it down, but you, starting from scratch, would have like your list in front of you, and then you could pull from that list into your week and allocate the day to each task. So to give you an idea of what I tend to pencil in advance in my week, I'm just going to draw this out. And the fact that I've been doing this for 6 months, like pretty much the same, means that I know off the top of my head what my tasks are for each day and what they look like. So that is, for me, proof that this system works for me, because now I don't have to put in energy every day to remembering what I'm supposed to be doing. I've learned it. And that means that I have to be using less brain power each day to process things like changes in activities and scheduling and working out what I need to be doing. I can just be focusing more on initiating the tasks themselves and like recovering. And also, like I said, on a Thursday, having my planning day where I do the like brain power in advance so that each day is a bit easier on my head. So Monday, my first, also jumping around a bit again, but this could be used chronologically. So you could write out your tasks in order that you need to do them. I don't do that, but I do have certain tasks that I tend to place nearer the top. So I kind of roughly prioritise them, so more important at the top, less important at the bottom. That also tends to be because I draw out the more important tasks in advance, so just logically that means that they are at the top, because it wouldn't make sense for me to put in like something in advance but draw it halfway down the page, unless you are doing that chronologically and you specifically want your task to be like at lunchtime, for example. So there's a lot of flexibility in this layout based on how you want to prioritise it. To recap very quickly, that could be either chronologically, so the tasks that you do first go at the top, and then each like area of the page corresponds to a time of the day. It could also correspond to priority, so you choose the ones that are most important at the top and the ones that are least important at the bottom, and you could do that by drawing out, rather than having your boxes butt up against each other, you could just have them like floating in space. So you could have like 3 sections. Top priority, would like to do this, doesn't really matter if I do this. Or I guess there's a bunch of other ways that I didn't even think about. Whoops. That you could draw this in. So it really depends on you. But for me, my task always on here is change bed. I love when you put fresh sheets on your bed. Like the feeling of going to bed on a Monday night is just so nice. I would genuinely put fresh sheets on my bed every single day, but I just feel like that's a bit wasteful in terms of like water and washing. Also, this normally says wash bedding, but I was talking so it ran out of space, sorry about that. But yeah, that's my clean sheets chat. What else do? I do my planner update, so I copy out my data for my trackers that I record daily each week, and then I kind of like, I guess, graph them every Monday to keep track of stuff like the hours that I'm sleeping and the amount of steps that I do in a day. I do that because of chronic illness, not for any other reason, but like whatever your reason, that's fine. I just wanted that disclaimer because I know that some people keeping track of stuff like that is actively detrimental. I just do it to give me a better idea of my pacing exercises from my like pain clinic like stuff that I've been doing for chronic illness stuff. What else do I do on a Monday? I empty the bins. And things that you put in this, like in each daily column, will like super depend on what you need reminders for and what you want to write down. So like this could be solely for housework, or it could be solely for just like personal things. For me, I like to have all of it in one place, so I make it a mix of like fun and practical. But the most important thing for me is keeping track of where what tasks I'm doing when that use which part of my body, if that makes sense. So like updating trackers is like an arm task because I'm writing. Changing my bed and emptying the bins is like a leg task because I'm walking around. Stuff like that. Stuff like that is the kind of thing that I need to know what I'm doing to like better manage my health stuff. I haven't actually planned my meals for next week. So normally at this point I would start writing in like lunch prep. Like normally, oh well, that wasn't even a couple of weeks ago. Like you can see in here that I have sections for like lunch, tuna, I should have somewhere in here. Yeah, tuna out. So when I get ingredients out of the freezer to defrost for the next day's dinner, and which days of the week I am doing like active prep for lunch, like lunch and prep, and which days I'm just like reheating something that I've already made previously. So I find that is one of the like most useful parts of a weekly planner for me, is keeping track of like what cooking I'm supposed to be doing and stuff like that. But I have not given myself that information this week yet, so that's a bit annoying. I have no idea what is happening on Tuesday or Wednesday next week, but on Thursday I know that I'm just leaving a space for like lunch stuff. When I actually go do my meal planning tomorrow, I can fill it in retrospectively. But I know that on Thursdays I do planner time. On Fridays I do my meal planning, etc. So if tasks are directly related, I join the boxes to each other. So like changing bed, washing bedding. And if they are distinct tasks, then they have a gap in between. So these are unrelated items. So on Friday I will do a meal plan. I will do a shopping list. And then I will do my grocery order online to get delivered. Then my Saturday and Sundays have like a bigger self-care task in them. I'm rushing through this so much. And then on Sundays I have my groceries delivered and clean my kitchen. And then I prepare in advance the fresh vegetables that I get delivered. And either put those in the fridge or freeze them, and do the same for any meat that I get delivered as well. I split that task into two because I have to do it in multiple parts in the day, otherwise it's too much like standing and chopping for me to like do with my body. So this is basically what my week looks like before the week has started. So comparatively, so we have a completed week, this was last week, versus what the week looks like at the start. You can see that it fills up loads with like daily tasks as the time goes on, and it depends on how much I've got going on each day, or like how well I'm feeling each day, as to how much they fill up. Okay, so I just draw out my headers because I was getting fed up of filming and writing at the same time. So we have on our left-hand side housework bits, which are like chores around the house, I guess, and on the right hand is my to-dos, which are my, like, I guess to-dos is probably quite self-explanatory enough. So on here then I will write the initials for the days of the week. So we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday on my x-axis, and then on my y-axis I will have my 8 like repeating housework tasks that I have picked to... Why didn't that space out properly? I should have left a gap there. Well, that's fine. Yeah, my 8 repeating tasks that I have to do across the week. So I know that this is an everyday one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we need all 7 gaps along here. And like I said, these squares just get shaded in once the task is done, or I half shade them if I have half done it. So like, for example, this week I'm halfway, or like I've partway compiled my photos to print for February. So like, I guess on Sunday I will want that finished. So I'll like have that whole box to fill in. And if I want to work on it a bit on Saturday too, then I'll just draw myself a little triangle. And I know that it won't get completed, but I want to like chip away at some of the task itself. So yeah, I'm just gonna pick my tasks to go along here. I choose the same ones, but you can pick whichever ones are relevant for you. I'm not even gonna bother writing those in right now. Well, actually, okay, I'll write a couple of them in because I know that I do them on set days. So this is dishwasher and washing up. Oh, also, I didn't mention what pen this is. This is a Sakura... Oh, I've got pen grip on here. A Sakura Gellyroll 06. It's fine. It smudges more than I would like it to. I really like the G-tec C4, but I have to press a bit harder with that one, and it hurts my hand to write with more. So even though I like the look of it, it's finer and the ink smudges less or dries quicker. I'm using this one because it is kinda on my hand. So the reason I only wanted to draw these ones in is because I do allocate in advance these tasks. So every Saturday I would clean my bathroom, and I tend to put cleaning my kitchen sink as part of that because I use the same cleaning products, so they're already out at the same time. But it depends how much energy I have. Sometimes I will skip that because I don't have the energy to do both in one day. Then on this one again, I'm actually going to space this correctly this time. We have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then I'll fill this in based on what tasks I want to achieve next week. This works best for me for tasks that need doing in sections across time, because I like that you can track the progress of them, like in partial steps, if that makes sense. So like, for example, compiling my photos that I took in February, I could just do that in one massive gigantic lump and sort through a month's worth of photos in one day and then print them all at once. But it's way nicer and more enjoyable if I do it in smaller chunks across the month, and then it makes it more fun rather than like a big task that I just don't feel like doing at all. So I really like this way of organising things for that reason, because it means that I can be more flexible with knowing that I need to be remembering something and working on it, but only like filling in when I'm doing it based on what I feel like doing. And again, I really like having the section here of just like I guess mental health goals. I don't really know what to call them. Of like a couple of things that I want to focus on that I know will boost my mood or like my self in general. So talking with friends. This is also a Sakura Gellyroll. I don't know what colour it is. It says XPGB, then that like hash thing, 429, and then underneath it says that hash thing 38172, in case that's useful. And I get all of my stationery from CultPens, and I get all of my like decorative stuff like stickers and washi tape and stuff like that from Itsy, UK based stores. Talking with friends, what's my other thing? Outside time. And I have a couple of ways that I fill this in. So if that pen's gonna be wet now, but I'll show you like carefully. So if I do it a little bit, it gets a filled in heart in an empty box, and if I do it a lot, then it gets a empty heart with a filled in box. Does that make sense? So like here, for example, this would be like I just like replied to a message, and this would be like I actually like had a proper conversation, for example. Or like outside time, this would be like I actually went for a walk in my garden, and if it was the light version, it would just be like I went outside to look at some flowers and went inside like 5 seconds later. So I feel like I've probably touched on everything except for, let's go this week. This is what it looks like when I'm done at the end of the month. So at the end of each month, I print out all of the photos that I took in that month, and then I sort through them and stick them in based on the date, and then any overflow gets to the end of the month, and I would just put them in order like that. And I really, really love this so much. I love being able to look back through, especially at like the seasons, and especially at my houseplants. That's basically all I record anyway, looking at this. But I have notes recorded when certain things flower, when certain things are like coming up, like I start recording the bulbs. And I love being able to look back from year to year at all of my planners and see exactly when I can expect certain things to happen that I'm looking forward to. So like I have been eyeing up last year's planner to see when things are likely going to blossom, so that I can make sure that I go outside in my garden and look at the trees that I can't see from my window and make sure I take photos of the blossom this year, because that's something that I really like anticipate and look forward to. So that is an extreme, probably hour-long video on how I build a routine and how I use my planner to like keep on track of that routine. You could have it so that you have a spread in your planner that has your like baseline routine, so that you know the like outline or scaffolding that you're building with, and then you have a spread that you could always flip back to. So like for example, that could be where I have my like the shape of the year, so what each month looks like. You could have your daily routine outline here, and then it's always in a place that's easy to reference, or you could have it on your wall so that you can see it. Megan Rhiannon, in her book Existing Autistic, had some really nice examples of visual reminders. So if you are artistically inclined or you see people selling that kind of thing, then you can have like really beautiful like visual prompts on your walls. But yeah, I think that's done. I'd be interested to know if you have any questions, either that I could answer in a comment, or if you would like a full video explaining how I do a certain thing. I know that the way that I do things doesn't apply to everyone, and also might be like really unhelpful for some people, because some people need it to be either more strict or more flexible. But I just wanted to have on record the kind of resources that I've built up for myself, in case it could be of use to anyone else. So I think that's it. I hope that you have had an okay start to the year, and that your March is a nice beginning for a new month. And who knows when it will be, but I will see you at some point soon.